main takeaways from 2 matches last week?
Better on the weekend than on Wednesday. So, Wednesday match, I just wasn't happy with a lot of things, and the team knows it. And they're not happy with it either, but it's not for lack of trying. It's more trying to figure out the zone you have to be in to be able to compete at the level we have to compete at, and just making sure we're good about going through a scout, making sure we play freely enough that we can execute and not worry about making the error, so to speak, or trying too hard to make the perfect play. We talked about making a lot of good plays and not compounding runs or errors, and I just felt we did that too much on Wednesday. We settled in against that first set against Wisconsin. It's much more what we're capable of, but we got to do that over a longer period of time. And, Wisconsin's pretty good, so it's probably the biggest block you're going to see since I've been here, and maybe ever. So it's good on them, but we have to still figure out any team that is in front of us. We got to figure out different ways to score and different ways to defend. And I thought we did that for the first set. We just couldn't sustain it past that.
I guess what's the pathway then to consistency? I mean, every coach probably trying to find that.
Yeah, it's keep doing it, and this time of year it gets difficult to have long drawn out practices. So in practice you have to be really good about trying to point out the things that we can help them score 3-4 more points, and some of those, that's the margin of error in between turning a set or not turning a set, and so it's really just about trying to be fine-tuning certain items. If you have to look at bigger picture items, you got to be able to look at that, but we have to be able to just keep. Part of it is the environment's going to teach itself. You get out of these big arenas and you're playing in front of thousands here, thousands at Purdue, whatever it might be. If it's your first time being in here, it's different, and you got to go through a season sometimes to figure it out. So we're seeing some improvement with some of our younger players in that regard, and then we're also still need to improve in certain areas as well.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of the times we've spoken to you mentioned maybe trying a little too hard. I mean, how do you fix that? How do you go about it?
We're trying to. It's, again, I think a lot of it's a conversation. There's a lot of work off the court that never is seen on the court, and a lot of conversations that happen downstairs that it's just a process. And again, you're going to hear coaches talk about that. I forget if I was talking with you or someone else about it. There's a reason why the coaches talk about the process, and that's why it takes time. And if everyone could flip the switch and snap their fingers, everyone would do it the next day if they could. That's not the way it works. And so, there's patience is a virtue for a reason. I believe I'm a patient coach, but we have to be able to still fix what we can when we can do it, and making sure that we're trying our butts off to score points whenever we can. So, like you said, how do you go about doing that? Some players respond well to certain levels of how to play mentally, and others don't, and they have to figure out that's kind of their own personal journey in this, and then of course you got to do it as a team as well.
I mean, getting the ball in the arena is usually a pretty good thing. Is 50 swings sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, she knows that's what it's going to take, and I think earlier against Michigan State, I think she took 70, 75, something like that. It's not uncommon when we did that when Jack was here in 2018. And so her shoulder feels good, and her arm feels good. So as long as she feels good, you can set her on that many balls. And just by nature of the position, you're going to get that, especially if you're not in the system all the time. The outsides tend to see a lot of contact out there. But she feels good, and she's making some nice swings. I thought she makes some really nice swings against Wisconsin. They just, again, kind of blocking it. You don't see. Even I can't recreate it anymore. So these are getting old, but we're trying. We do our best.
I know Kayla didn't play against Wisconsin. Where she?
Yeah, she just had a tweak in practice following Purdue, and day to day she's back in practice today. So hopefully she's ready to go this week.
I guess the last thing I had, Brooke kind of used to jump top spin. Like, has that been kind of a build to it type of thing?
Actually, not really. It was something where she, wasn't hitting the serve that she wanted to hit in game situations, and again, that kind of goes back to it's you the ball. It's like shooting a free throw, except you got to shoot your free throw like different ways, So with her, we knew she had an arm, and we knew she had the hybrid serve, which is not quite like a jump serve. And back in club, we just asked her to hit a few in practice, and she was doing fine with it. And the jump serve is usually a high air serve, but she was making a lot. She had one that she'd maybe want to take back, but if she can hit it with that pace consistently, it's going to cause teams problems. I thought Wisconsin handled it well, but I think for the majority of the season, that's probably what we're going to try to stick with as long as she feels good with doing it.
You guess Ohio State come next. It's the challenge for Buckeyes. I know they kind of have a new look.
New look. They got a bunch of new players, so they've been improving every week, and they still got Emily London, who's a returning all-conference player for them. And, it's about her, trying to slow her down as best as you can, but also not letting the rest of the team get off the field. I still think we got to rely on a serve pass game better than we have been. We look to improve that. I think if we can win that battle, most coaches will say if you can win that battle, you can win. But I think as the season's going on, I'm more pleased with how our serve and pass game is going, and, with the exception of a match here and there. But I think against Wisconsin, it was good. We had opportunities, and we need to continue to do that against Ohio State.
Coach, sort of to piggyback off of that, against Purdue at one Wednesday, you guys had 19 points lost from serves, 10 errors, 9 aces on their part. On Saturday against Wisconsin, you guys only gave up 9, 3 errors, 6 aces. Great game on that sort of front. What changed in those 2 days for you guys?
Again, it's just making sure we have some attention to detail and not getting. I mean, the hardest part is if you're going between two players, you got to figure out your seams and you got to be able to communicate about those. And so some of those errors that we had, I felt it was more communication error than it was, the serve from their end. But so we just really talked about being assertive with your serve receive and not being passive with it. And if you pick up the serve first, it's yours. And everything we normally talk about is just sometimes we need reminders and making sure that we're really good about communication as that ball's coming over the net.
What's been sort of the emphasis in practice, if there's been any sort of specific emphasis going into Ohio State this week?
It's been the same. You're always going to look at your ball control first to try to get you in positions to score. And then, of course, once you have those opportunities, it's about the attackers making good choices when they're up there. I thought we made a lot better choices against Wisconsin than we did against Purdue. And again, I think we saw that in the first set. We got to sustain it for a longer period of time and making sure that we make the proper adjustments in terms of, if your swing's scoring, great. If not, we have to find a new way to try to score in this game of the system. So we got to make sure that we're able to that we're able to keep scoring points as best as we can.
Would it be fair to say this is maybe your toughest stretch of the schedule for ranked opponents in 5 games? There's no easy games in this conference.
No, there's not. Yeah, and there never is. And so no matter if you're playing the top, or if you're playing the mid, or if you're playing the quote-unquote bottom, everyone's tough, and you're seeing that with results within our conference. You saw a few, different results than you've seen in the past this last weekend, and I've told, you guys for a long time, the gap is dwindling between the top and the bottom. Everyone's kind of in that. Everyone's pretty good. You better bring your A game every single time you step in.
Thank you so much.